Hi, my name is Ty Trumbull. I handle a lot of the content you'll see here at Acquira. One of the things we're most proud about is the sense of community that we create. When you sign up to one of our programs or training, you gain access to a community of other acquisition entrepreneurs who you can ask questions to, share your own successes, and just ensure yourself that you're not alone on this path toward business acquisition. Another thing that community members gain access to is a success coach. AEs receive regular coaching calls and access to our investment committee calls. So today I'd like to introduce you to one of our success coaches, Daniel Elizondo. He'll walk us through what to expect from these coaching calls. He'll share his own acquisition entrepreneurship journey, and he'll break down exactly what an investment committee call is and why it's necessary. So Daniel, you're the success coach for Acquira. You're the face that people can expect to see when they join one of our calls. Could you explain what the calls are about, like what people can expect from them?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's already a process in place that helps the acquisition entrepreneur identify businesses, analyze those businesses, right? Present a proposal and eventually close them, on the deal. The coaching is support one-on-one, help that person along, this journey in a
Great.
few words.
And could you give a little bit about your background, like what brought you to this role to be able to help people?
Well, so I did join as an acquisition entrepreneur, right? To our acceleration program, and from there, during the weekly calls on Wednesdays, I was providing my opinions on different matters, right? As we were talking to different speakers, and some found my advice really interesting and asked me for outside or additional calls, which was not my role, but that was immediately, I guess, detected by Acquira, and they said, hey, Daniel, you do not only understand our training, have the experience, but are also willing to help others and have the ability to put concepts that may be abstract in simple words for people to understand. So initially I said, no, I want to complete my acquisition, which I am doing. So finally we agreed to only like a part-time,
Mm-hmm.
part of my time goes to coaching. Yeah.
Great. And how is your personal acquisition going?
Well, it's going fine. I, um, I am looking at an HVAC business, and I'm, possibly presenting an LOI or going through the purchase agreement, right away. Working right now with a partner. This partner already has a business in place that is not directly related to HVAC, but to ice machines.
Hmm.
So the partner has a license, which is what I don't have, and through conversations now he's interested on selling me the business, right? So I'll say, well, let's just take one step at a time. Let's first enter the HVAC environment, develop that part of a business unit, whether it's a different legal entity or within your business, and then we go from there. So I'm making progress. Yes.
Great. I think it's pretty clear that based on your experience with your own acquisition, especially that you have a lot of perspective that you can offer to your fellow acquisition entrepreneurs. What sort of advice have you gotten, or not advice, but what sort of questions have you gotten from AEs in the past that stick out to you?
Well, sometimes they are unfamiliar with certain industries.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to feel reassured that their professional background is going to is going to fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their I'll call it their investment profile. I don't want to confuse terms with investment thesis, because we also call investment thesis to the different risk factors of a business.
Mm-hmm.
And actually that's part of the analysis of one of the key pieces of the acquisition is to pretty much explore the risk of purchasing a business. So They want to better understand their investment profile in terms of location, in terms of industry, deal size. They want to understand how we are going to support them. So is it the, I guess, alignment of expectations is very important at early in the process. So they know they most of the work, is going to be done by them. We're going to be, coaching them, but certainly we're not going to push a pencil. Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, if we had those resources, that would be probably at a higher cost for them,
Hmm.
right?
So when
And
you
yeah.
mentioned that they've
Mhm.
got to do a lot of the heavy lifting or a lot of work throughout the process of finding an acquisition, what sort of work is it that specifically they might need to do, and how do the coaching calls help sort of guide them through those moments?
That's a good question, and I would like to split how the time is used and then how the time passes. For example,
Hmm.
when you first contact a business broker, you may have a 1 or 2 day, you know, delay, in the response. Once you start, working on a prospectus, then you have a lot of work in front of you. Okay, depending on how the business looks like or the deal, you can disqualify right away or screen and weed it out, right? So you want to be working with multiple businesses at the same time.
Hmm.
Okay, because once you disqualify one, then you rather than starting over, you just take the next in the pipeline. Okay, so obviously your organization techniques and are important, and your ability to catch up, from reading your own notes as you talk to a seller that you have talked to before, but you just don't remember right now because it was like 2 3 weeks ago, right? Or a business broker, right? So a lot of work has to be put into the business analysis, and I will say is the investment thesis that I just mentioned, the for example, the deal analysis calculator, the financial projections, the presentation, to the investment committee. All of those absorb a lot of time to prepare, because you need
Hmm.
to gather information, you need to work in your computer. um, uh, Now, I would say that from the point where you have the LOI to closing, your work is more scattered. So maybe in terms of timeline is longer, but the actual number of hours you put in are probably less. At the end, as you approach, the final steps after due diligence, takes place, and the closing, yeah, definitely your work increases to a point where if you're a W-2, uh, eventually you want to dedicate your full attention to your new baby, right? To your business. And people actually, would think of resigning from, their W-2, job to take care of this acquisition, because the investment may be 1 2 4 million dollars, right? So
Hmm.
definitely you want to be there. That also leads to another idea that sometimes people have, and it's kind of um, innocent. Uh, People would like to be passive investors. If that is the case, acquisition and entrepreneurship is not for them. To be
Hmm.
a passive investor, you want to find an investment fund and then leave your money on the hands of professionals who are going to be deciding what kind of companies are going to be purchased, or debt, if that's a debt fund. You're certainly far from those decisions because they're taken for you and for other investors. So there's a profile of that investment fund, and you're even further away from business management.
Hmm.
Okay, so that, compared to being an acquisition entrepreneur, you have your hands on. Okay,
Right.
so sometimes people have this idea where they just want to be the owner of a business and benefit, tremendously from it, but not, they don't want to work on it.
Hmm.
So that's something we normally talk about, to understand if they have the time, the willingness, you know, the money. Um, because if they have millions of dollars, they may say, "Yeah, I can invest a couple $1 million, but someone else is going to run it for me." Well, have that person that is going to run the business for you in a program, because before we, you know, can agree, with your deal and with your transaction, we want the person that is going to be running the business to be familiar with the business.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we will say, "Hey, here's a program. You make your best decisions, but you're on your own. We're not going to certainly stamp that deal, with our advice, because you're
Hmm.
not you're not close to it. You're not acquiring the knowledge or willing to acquire it from the seller,
Hmm.
and
And
therefore the risk is different, right?"
of course. And you mentioned the investment committee call. Could you explain a bit about what that is and what people might expect from an investment committee call?
Yeah, yeah. So here in Acquira, we have several people who have experience, and they will look at your deal, and from there, you will have additional sets of eyes, and opinions about some things that may have escaped. And we
Hmm.
see these over and over, people overpaying for a business or doing the wrong acquisition. Um, so this is actually like going to some experts that understand about, this particular industry, and helping you with questions by looking at your, presentation and all of the risk analysis, your financial projections, right? And
Hmm.
your investment thesis. So 99% of the people walk away from the investment committee, even though may not be the deal approved, walk away very happy because they find out additional points of view.
Hmm.
For example, I'm going to give you an example of a deal that was in a certain state. I think it was Montana or some state northwest, right?
Hmm.
And he was very happy because this business had like distribution, um, of fitness equipment for gyms, for colleges, for medical practices or therapists, and there were no competitors around. So he was very happy. He said, "This is tremendous. This is a money making machine." And I said, "Yeah, but you're not seeing the same in terms of risk. It's not going to be very long before you find a competitor there." So if you are basing the success of on not having competitors, you are probably missing a big piece of risk. You should be prepared, to different risk scenarios. What happens if a competitor shows up and takes 20% of my sales, or 40? What's going to happen with the finances? So so
Hmm.
he was like, "Oh, yeah, that that's possible." Yeah, it is possible. You don't have any, monopolies there, right? So you're going to have competitors sooner or later.
So the investment committee is really a chance for people to, at a do or die moment, just say, someone else, please look at this and make sure it's a good deal, and offers them a different perspective.
Right. And for example, when I presented my own, 10 or 12 questions came up that I didn't have the answers for. So I went back, right? And, had the responses, and, you know, to each one of the questions, basically to make sure we have a plan to address risk. So there's going to be risk, no question, and businesses can fail. But the idea is to be aware of the risk and see if there are, mitigation plans or risk management alternatives, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe you just want to walk away from the deal. Okay,
Hmm.
that
Great.
that is the purpose, is to reduce risk.
Perfect. I think that's a great place to end it, Daniel. Anything you'd like to add?
No, the very, very good questions indeed. Um, I like the idea that, our acquisition entrepreneurs are finding, more and more the value, we bring to the table, and our business model has been changing and evolving towards servicing them in full through the full cycle,
Mhm.
identifying a deal or deal sourcing, and then, the acquisition, the growth phase, post acquisition, and the exit. That's a full, cradle to grave cycle. And I'm excited, about the services and opportunities we offer to our partners.
Me too. Well, thanks for the time, Daniel.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ty.
Thank you. So there you have it. If you'd like to learn more, please click the link in the description below to schedule a call with us, and someone will be in touch with you very shortly to explain how we can help you get started on your own business buying journey. And if you'd like more content like this in the future, please click the subscribe button. Thanks very much.